All right, Nigeria is one of the countries most vulnerable to effects of climate change, facing rising temperatures, flooding, erosion, deforestation, and worsening waste management problems. Young people who will inherit the consequences of today's environmental challenges are often excluded from policy making and large-scale projects. However, the urgency of the climate crisis calls for innovative youth-led solutions that connect environmental restoration with community well-being. And again, joining me to have this conversation is Amara. Nwuneli. She's the founder of Preserve Our Roots, and yes, she is. She's just 17. I'm so happy to be speaking with you, Amara. I love when I'm talking to young people and I'm seeing them do so many great stuff. So if you're listening, Amara, can you unmute yourself? Hello, Amara. If you are here,
it's a pleasure to be here. Yes.
Oh, yes. I can hear you clearly now. Thank you so much for joining me. I mean, you're just 17 and you founded Preserve Our Roots, right? It's a youth-led NGO that is committed to environmental restoration, education, and policy influence. So tell me, why did you decide that you wanted to go this route of, what's it called, environmental restoration and education? Why?
That's actually a really great question because when I was younger, around the age of 7, 8, 9, I never really saw myself in that space. But when I was 13 is when I actually founded the NGO. I did so through an alliance because you can't found an organization until you're 18 in Nigeria. But it was the route that I took because I saw that I couldn't even dream about any other career path or future without having this solved in my mind, because in the next 10-20 years so many of our systems that are vital for different career choices aren't going to be able to be thriving because of the climate crisis. And so it felt like the immediate, almost like necessary, and like, I mean, it was the necessary thing I had to focus on first before I could think about anything else. And so that's why it became a priority in my life.
Awesome. So tell me the impact so far. How has it been? What have you done? So we know how far you've come.
Yes, so the work that we have been able to do combating this crisis, and it is a long time coming. I started this 5 years ago, and I remember the first few months of the work, it was really just educating. So I started an Instagram channel posting videos, but slowly enough, I realized that you needed to take on the ground action. And so when my home was flooded in 2020 during COVID, I created a short film that was able to raise over 2 million naira to rebuild 2 schools that were torn down due to floods in the Ayamelu local area government in Anambra State. And so that was really just the start of just seeing how you were able to merge both my passion for storytelling with on the ground work. And so we were able to go to orphanages, churches, and schools, reach hundreds of youth through workshops and free education campaigns, and we were teaching and mobilizing on the ground. That means we went out and did marches and tree planting campaigns and beach cleanups. But it's really hard when you're doing all these things by yourself, isolated and unrecognized, right? People wouldn't know that we're doing this unless, I mean, now I'm coming online saying it, but we did this by ourselves, just youth in Lagos coming together. But now we're actually expanding across Nigeria. So as a movement, we have youth across Nigeria, Anambra State. We have people in Abuja, Enugu, Port Harcourt, Ibadan, Ekiti State, who are really just carrying this movement forward. And most prominently, we're building on the ground green spaces so people can see what we're fighting for. Because if people can't realize why it is important, they wouldn't do it. And so it's called the Green Hub, where we're using waste to basically create green spaces in urban cities. We built our first successful park in March, and we're going on the ground building 2 more right now as we speak in Enugu and another one in Lagos.
Awesome. So this green park you're talking about, the green, the hub, sorry, the park, where is that located currently in Lagos? If somebody's trying to find it.
Ikota, Lagos.
Okay, Ikota. So that was the
So
one
it's in
where you
Ikota.
refurbished the dump.
Yeah, so this was a space where underutilized, it's more in the market space. And people were using it, students, school, there's a school right next to it called Bethesda Schools, but it wasn't really utilized well, especially because Ikota, like most of Lagos, is prone to flooding. And so we see that like trees are natural protectors of that space and they absorb the water. We wonder why traffic happens and all these buildings get torn down and people have to wade through water, but it's because we did not prioritize the nature aspect, which was what naturally reduces the flooding in these areas.
So
That's what we did. We
interesting.
planted the trees, brought this space to it. Yeah.
So now, Amara, let's break down habits, right? Because again, sometimes the things that you talk about are things that I, sometimes it crawls up my skin when I see people. You just see that itch when you see people throwing
Yeah.
waste indiscriminately.
Yeah.
Just throwing things through the window, and these are like little habits that we have practiced over the years, and it has become who we are. So how do we intentionally start to plant the impact of our habits and how it's impacting our immediate environment? Nigeria is kind of blessed, right? Because again, when I see extreme weather conditions that happens all over the world, Nigeria is a bit easy because it is man-made. Some of the things that we experience are not things that maybe are not within our control. I don't know if you get my point. So how do we intentionally plant the idea of climate preservation consciousness in the minds of people so we can truly now make your work easier?
No, that is a really prevalent question, especially I think Nigeria, while we are blessed with, I think with natural resources, it's almost like a curse because we also are a nation that is beridden by so many different problems, poverty, kidnapping, economic crisis, this and I mean, there's so many things that people focus on that almost leave climate change as, oh, why am I caring about trees and green when I can't put food on my table? And that is something that I think is a key area that we can focus on if we want people to start caring about it and reducing our habits. And I call it intersections. If you start seeing Earth as at the intersection of every single problem that one faces, then it will become more of a priority. And if you look at countries like Kenya or South Africa, the earth and as a natural resource is very important. It has a voice in law because they rely on it for tourism, they rely on it for economic opportunity, and that sort of importance in their culture makes people care about it. So if you go to Kenya, they have record number of people going into university trying to study environmental science and sustainability and going into those fields. And so I think the focus first of all should come from the top down. The way that we talk about it in spaces like this, showing the importance of it would allow people on the ground understand that this is something worth focusing on and noting. That's why spaces like green are important. You have to show them what they're fighting for and show them the importance. If you think about economic opportunities, farmers, it's actually, I wouldn't say that we are, it's funny that you say, because I won't say that we're really blessed on that sense of like climate disasters, because flooding really impacts crop yields, which impacts the prices of food. If you think about droughts and inconsistent weather patterns on places like Lagos and Ibadan, and the recent flooding that happened in the north as well that killed a lot of people, you would think that we just don't talk about it enough, and we do not relate enough of what we go through as a country to that problem, which is climate change. And so I think that's what we need to really do, is these spaces of news, talking about it more, making people understand that it is not in a Western world, a rich country problem or anything like that. It is a focus of every single person, economically, socially, mentally, everything. The earth is there.
It's interesting. So I loved what you said about top-down approach, right? Because again, policies are a very important part of
Exactly.
environmental preservation. So take, for instance, now you see, in fact, I remember my estate, they literally had to sue the estate developers that you promised to give us a park, you promised this, you promised that, and you're taking away all of those things because you want to build more houses and make more money. So speaking about policies, Amara, what are we going to do about getting the people that are policy makers and decision makers to understand the importance of certain realities that we must put in place if we must avoid the extreme impact of climate change, right? So what are those who are the people we should be speaking with, and what should we be looking at doing?
So what I would say is that it really is that point of intersections, meeting them where they are at. Every policymaker, every person in power has their priority. And so it's figuring out how to let them see what they benefit. And it's the sad reality that if we ever want to, so this for any advocates, for any person trying to push for change or convince, you have to meet them where they are, show them how they will benefit from these spaces. So for example, a big approach that I use when I'm advocating for more green spaces, for example, is that it increases the value of a lot of property in the area. And it's sad, even though green spaces improve the climate, the biodiversity, your health, giving you more oxygen, removing the pollution, you can also show them that increases the value of property, makes people happier, increases mental health benefits. You just have to show them, and I think that's one big thing. But another thing with policy is that it is really hard to get implemented on ground. And so that's why I would call for anyone watching this, if you know someone in government, if you know someone in the policy, to ask them to put their money where their mouth is, in a sense of when you talk about it, because Nigeria, quote unquote, is part of things like the Connect Cities. They're part of all these organizations and clauses. They go to the UN, COPs, which are where all the big decisions about climate change are made. But then when we leave those spaces, we don't really take action on ground, or the action that is taken is not really seen by the common person. And so that's why I would say just ensuring that not only are youth voices heard, because we are the ones that are on ground and experiencing all of this, so amplifying what is getting done, but then also ensuring that with the policy being implemented, that it's focused on actually solving it rather than solving any other issue. And so there's a lot of different methods to approach, but I feel like it's really just starting with the bigger picture of what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to make sure that there is more economic recovery when it comes to climate change? Are you trying to make sure that these impacts don't affect people as much? There's a lot of different levels to it, and it's sadly very complicated. And so the last thing I would say is just research and get informed as yourself, by yourself. Because once you're informed about what goes on in other countries, what goes on in Nigeria, then you'll be able to start speaking to people and starting these conversations.
I liked what you said about the financial benefits, because one of the biggest ways to get the attention of a lot of people is to start to tell them the financial benefits of having, better climate conscious actions around you. But let's speak to young people, because you're young, you're 17 and you started these at 13, right? And I know a lot of young people that do not even care about some of the things, that we are talking about. It's kind of still alien to them. It's strange. They don't know what it is. So one of your goals is to educate a lot of people. How are you driving that goal, to ensure that more people are becoming almost like your ambassadors of climate consciousness?
So my NGO Preserve Our Roots really focuses on 3 thematic areas, I guess, for reaching people. We call it end-to-end, because you have to do the whole, speak to the whole person. The first thing we use is storytelling. They have to see themselves in the crisis. Documentaries, storytelling, even social media. You see people caring about so much only and mainly because they see it in front of them and it's entertaining. And so we try to make sure that the climate crisis is not a statistic, or it's not this percentage of CO2 and this scientific statistic, but we make sure that they see it and they understand how it relates to them. And once we get that down, we then focus on the education aspect of things. We make sure that they are informed, they understand just how far the climate crisis is impacting in their lives. And so once you get down the emotion part of it and the education part of it is then empowering them to take action. So what we do is we like to provide spaces for them to take action, like beach cleanups, tree planting initiatives, and then just show them things like the Green Hub, for example, that are on ground. And once you are able to not only tap into their emotion, but their understanding, and also impact on their hands, what they can feel, touch, and smell, and then you are able to then empower people. But with youth, I feel like their attention is really quick and short these days. I have to say, my generation, we didn't grow up in a time where, you can just go out and spend some like hours without your phone. And so then we understand that they has to feel the urgency. And so that's something that we're really pushing for. We're launching a newsroom called the Green Room in the next few months. So keep a lookout for that, where it's almost like that short content, but they're able to see every single day just how important the climate crisis is in their lives.
I'm so excited. You said your generation. I'm happy that you know your generation. And I know that you're going to speak to them in their language because, yes, truly, the attention span is quite, it's quite short. And content that are not engaging might never catch their attention. I mean, I recently went viral on social media, and the simple thing I was trying to share was the fact that, we need to pay attention to intellectual things as much as we pay attention to things that are entertainment. Not many people will sit through this conversation that we are having because for them it's not that we are not dancing, we are not we are not shaking our bum and all of that. But that is the reality. That's the sad reality of what is going on. So things like this can easily be overlooked because it doesn't seem like it is important until you start to see the effect. And I loved what you said about storytelling and movies because the heat wave, you might not know what climate change is, but you understand what the heat wave is. You understand what the current rain, the rainy season this year has just been funny. It's raining when it's not supposed to rain, and it's not raining when it's supposed to rain. It's just been like that. At least, even if you don't understand climate change, you would understand that we were supposed to have August break, right? But we didn't have an August break. The rain was still pouring down. So, I mean, these are things that we can easily put in films, in documentaries, like you rightly said, and then tell that story properly, and people would then understand it and follow through. But you know what? Let's go on a short break, Amara. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying tuned. Now, if you just tuned in, our discussion centers on the power of one person and what it takes to be a change maker. Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-8663. Our phone lines are also now open, 07025007749 or 07014242420. Let's hear what you have to say. So, Amara, let's go back to the topic, the power of one person. Because, again, this is one thing that, especially because we're in the social media world, where what drives us are the number of views, the number of likes, the number of clicks, So sometimes it can be discouraging when you see, it's only 3 views, only 3 likes, right? And you don't just feel like, it's an important thing to do. Case in point would be the video I posted. I just posted it out of frustration. The fact that we're not paying as much attention to education as we are paying to entertainment. And it went all over the place. Like literally, it's very rare for a content like that to gain so much attention. We hit over 1 million views across, 2 different platforms, Facebook and IG. And this is something that had never happened on my page. So I'm even still very much overwhelmed. But you see, that is just me talking about it. Now imagine if we have a collective body of people saying the same thing over and over again, how powerful that would be. So tell me why you believe in, that power of one person, and why it's important for one person to take an action, even just by watching this video today, or maybe when they watch it much later.
I believe that the power of one person is important, not only the influencers and the sports stars like Ronaldo and Messi. And I'm so glad that you focused on just how even watching this video, because we are all connected. It always feels like me growing up in Lagos. I always felt like the world was so small. Everyone knew each other and what was going on. But it is truly that if you start a conversation in your dining table or in your classroom, and your child takes it to their friend's house and they start it in their friend group and the conversations keep on happening, it is truly, truly a ripple effect. And that is now magnified on social media. The sharing of links, the posting of videos on their stories. It is truly then why, like for example, what you see on the screen now, everyone holding hands. It's one person holds one person's hand, it goes like it transmits like an electrical pulse. And so that's why you have to really just start from within, focusing on what you can do and just feeling that urgency. And a lot of times I want to make sure that I highlight that the climate crisis might not be your thing. It might not be you might not be you like soft life, you don't want to go outside and get a mosquito on your face. But when you realize how it affects your life personally, whether economically, physically, mentally, because you can't go out and play football because there's no space, it's all concrete, then you realize that you can then power someone else who would then take that charge. Someone was the one who impacted me. Different people in my life, like that, it takes a village to raise a child. If I look at my secondary school teacher, my parents, my friends, my grandfather, and when he talked about how we used to climb trees, they all had the power to impact me. And now I'm trying to then pour that out to the different people in Preserve Our Roots and the greater movement. And so that's why there is that power of one person. And just taking that big step is what really counts.
Absolutely. So you directed movies, right? Documentaries, rather, such as The Heat of Change. And I hear it's an award-winning climate change film, and
Yes.
Beyond Your Screens. Can you tell us a little bit about that? That was featured in an international youth ocean awareness contest, right?
Yes, so The Heat of Change was actually launched December 2022, or 2023 actually. And yes, it was shown in Egypt, it was shown in different conferences and different festivals, which I'm very grateful to have been able to just produce that and work with amazing filmmakers like Wole Oyewole who to bring that to the world. And I truly love film. I grew up in the performing arts industry. I remember my first ever feature film was called Coming From Insanity, and it focused on child trafficking. I think you may be able to watch it on Netflix. It's a small role, but it showed me that the power of storytelling to really not only change minds, but also highlight things that people often overlook about their own lives or the lives of people around them. And hopefully in the next few years, you'll see more content from me, especially when this green room is launched by Preserve Our Roots. But I believe documentaries are a really powerful tool for changing minds.
Interesting. So tell us a little bit about your parenting. I know your mom, for instance. You've talked about your grandfather. I say this to say
Yes.
that I cannot miss the opportunity to tell parents why it's important, to just put the right things in the minds of your children. You touched on it a little bit, but just tell us a little bit more, how much the impact, that that they've had in your life.
So both of my parents were amazing role models. They were really just passionate about their work, and they weren't afraid to just take that leap. I say leap. My mom did found an NGO when she was a bit younger as well, called Leap Africa. And I remember also they were in the agriculture industry. And rather, both industries are very hard to break into and to run. And I saw the stresses of running an NGO and how they would always be traveling around, and they weren't always in the house. But I saw how they never missed to just showcase how important it was, not because of who saw it or who recognized it, but because of the people they were impacting. And I think I was just proud to see them in that space. And I think it really fed into me wanting to always help someone else. So my parents, and they like to joke around, but I wouldn't say money conscious, but we lived frugally in a sense of like we understood the privilege that we had and we were always willing to give back. And so that's why a lot of the times now, as I grow older and my friends are trying to find the most high paying job and they're high paying this, and even now with Preserve Our Roots, a few of our members are like, so where are we going to be making money now? It's focusing on the impact, I think, is one big thing. So just the passion. And I think a core memory of mine is with their agriculture business, Ace Foods, which was more of a spice company, selling the products at all those food conventions and being at all ends, seeing the factory, seeing the people they were able to support with financial care and all of that they don't even tell people about. I think it was just inspiring just to want to lead that sort of life when I'm older.
It's so interesting because, again, just hearing you speak, people like us that focus on impact, that's the question that everybody would always ask you. Where do you expect us to get the money from? But I know that it's definitely going to pay off because, again, we truly need the finances to be able to get these things done. So you wrote a book, We Are Curious, right? Tell us more about that book and why you decided to write that book.
So the book Phobia Curious was actually launched the year before the documentary. And I'm a creative, like I said before, so it was really just me wanting to have everyone else in the world find their own form of expression. It's a collection of short stories and poems that I wrote throughout that year and a bit from the year before, during a lot of change in my life personally, but also a lot of just things going on in the world, in my family, in my friends' lives. And I think that it was really just the outlook that I saw everyone around me having. And sometimes it was sad seeing how people focus so much on the day-to-day that they get lost in it. Working that 9 to 5, they come home and the cycle is repeated. And so I wanted people to just have that curiosity. And so when I saw one or two people and they told me like, oh, that outlook was something that they've never really heard before, that feeling of like just having almost like a childlike romanticism of life, I really wanted to see how I can spread that to the world. And so I did all the graphics and I put it together, and I worked with some amazing mentors on trying to publish it, and my mom supported as well. And we were able to launch in December, have a few book readings, and now it's on Amazon if anyone wants to check it out. But yes, so it's called Phobia Curious, and hopefully when you read it, you get that curiosity and passion back into your life.
Awesome. So before, let's talk teenagers. Your peers. Let's talk teenage life, right? I saw something, I think it was today or yesterday, I can't remember, where they said, if you want to be a billionaire, you cannot be partying in your 20s. You have to work. You have to do all the work. And it seems like you're missing out on your teenage lives, having to do some of these things because they're kind of huge and they're heavy. Anybody that is led by impact, the kind of work you do is actually very heavy. And people don't know this. You rarely sleep. Even for every dime you get, you're thinking, how can I use this dime to impact somebody else? So somehow you get, caught up in the work and you forget to be a teenager, you forget to be a child, How has that been for you? Has that been your experience, or you've been able to balance both? And again, how has your relationship with other teenagers, are you a sort of inspiration to them, or they're saying, no, please, I don't have time for Amara. She's always stressing me out with her climate change conversations.
Oh my gosh. So thank you for this question. It's actually very interesting. I've never been asked it before, but it is prevalent. And I think that it's threefold. The first thing I wanted to say is that it's something that has been part of me for a while. And in a sense, it's something that while it feels like almost like a pressure, it is not really in a sense of like it's constricting, but more of like I'm excited about what I can possibly do. It excites me. And so when I'm working with different people, recently I was just in Kenya for the African Next Green Leaders Accelerator program, and walking with all those people next to me was like, the possibilities are endless. Like I was so excited and restless. And I think that's when my childlike self comes in. It's truly a passion of mine. And I think something that it's a caveat, is that a lot of different parents have come to me and been like, oh, like help my child, mentor them so they can do this thing. And I would really just want to highlight that everyone has their own calling and passion. And so while it's great I'm on this platform sharing the work, is that it's been something I've always loved, public speaking and acting and advocating. And I was always, my mom said, you have to be a lawyer, the way that you're fighting, fighting for this or fighting for that. And I think that everyone has their own calling. So in a sense, when you say, oh, like, do they feel inspired? Do they feel intimidated? Is that it's sadly, it depends on the person. A lot of people still haven't found their own self yet. They're still self-searching. And teenage years are really that rough year where a lot of people still don't know what they want to do. And sometimes they can feel threatened or a bit self-conscious. But I think that once I recognize that, I really love like engaging with people and socializing. That if I recognize that, you find a way to almost, I won't say shape shift, but like you make sure that you meet people where they are. And talk people. Okay, that's the second thing. The last thing I want to say is that I'm someone who loves experiences. And so for me, like in the future, hopefully I can work with like National Geographic and travel, because that's one of my joys, is traveling and writing poems and listening to music and filmmaking. Those bring me so much joy. And I feel like sometimes a lot of people say, oh, being a teenager, you miss out on that. But what's in their mind, what has been painted by TV, is that being a teenager is playing games on your laptop or scrolling on TikTok all the time, or maybe going to parties here and there. And I want to highlight that everyone's teenage life is different. Those who go to like private school, those who go to boarding school in Lagos or this or that, you just find out what is yours and then you honor that, because you can't live someone else's life. So if you ever reach out, my friends, last thing I want to say with friends, my friends are amazing, because I force them to do work in Preserve Our Roots, that type of thing. They're really supportive. They're really supportive of the work. They come for different outreach, and we talk about things, and they join meetings. But we also watch movies together, do escape rooms. I love music, like I said before. So you really just find yourself in the work that you do. And if you ever feel like you don't find yourself, then sadly it's not for you. And I think that it's really just being able to have that risk factor of like being able to try and fail. And if you don't like it, you move on. And honoring what you don't like and being able to just, take care of yourself.
Awesome. I mean, I see me smiling. I just loved every part of your question. And I love one thing you said particularly, and this is what I've said to several people. You have to know who you are and own it. You cannot live the script of somebody else. It's so interesting that social media has kind of shaped certain kinds of rule books to say this is what teenagers should do. This is what, but if you look deep down within you, those are not the things that excite you. I can see, I can always, your smile is so infectious here. I can feel the energy. I can feel your excitement about what you're doing. And that is supposed to be the fun of it. It shouldn't be something that somebody should say, okay, now you're a teenager. You should be dancing on TikTok. That should be that's somebody else's script. So I loved what you said. And thank you for that. I'm hoping any young person watching this would truly be inspired by you. And I have been inspired by you, So you have given me the motivation to keep going in this our impact, no money work.
Yes.
You know what? So let me quickly ask you, as a call to action, what would you be saying to citizens? And what would you be saying to the government? If you wanted to say something, to just kind of call them to action, what would that be?
So for citizens, I would say that look around you and within you at the resources you have, the talents, the true interests, and make sure to channel it to others. That all you need is right where you are. A lot of times you might be limited or constricted by what you think you should have done or what you think you should have before you start. But all you need is just that understanding, and you can just start helping out this person right next to you, your neighbor in your house or down your street, and we're making sure that you just show up every day, living for others. And you will not only be filled, but you will also help everyone around you. That's the first thing I would say. And like I said before, intersections, no matter what you're fighting for, whether for human rights or female rights or gender equality or anything, the earth is at the center of it all. And then for governments, I would say that you should just listen. Listen to what everyone on the ground is saying, and just know that you have the power to create an enormous amount of change. And the systems might be rough and hard, but the only ones who make a dent in the history book, and are remembered for ages, are the ones who take risks and are the ones who are willing to defy what everyone else did before them. And so while it might be hard, while I understand that these policies are long term and there's so many systems in place to limit true change, that you have the power, and you just be that one spark that can really change the face of what Nigeria stands for and the direction we're going.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm hoping that I can work with you on maybe 1 or 2 documentaries, because we film documentaries here too, and short films,
Yes.
In case,
Lovely.
I'll be more than happy to jump
You
on
never
it.
know. Stay tuned, everyone watching.
Yes.
Collab.
Thank you so much. I've had an amazing time. I hope you had a good time with us too.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll bring
Yes,
you
thank
back
you for
again.
having
Thank you
me.
so much, Amara. All right, so I would like to say that Amara Nwuneli's journey shows that a single person armed with passion, like you can see, her passion is contagious, and commitment can ignite powerful change, from turning a dump site into a vibrant playground to inspiring nationwide climate action. She demonstrates that leadership is not defined by age, but by vision and action. So as we celebrate her this month, let us be reminded that the power of one person lies in taking that first step. Whether it is planting a tree, educating others, or innovating, or posting something on social media that inspires people, these actions build foundation for a cleaner and a more hopeful Nigeria. Thank you so much again for watching, and please remember to share these links to any young person out there that you know. It is really, really, important that we share the links. That is the only way we can spread the message across. We've done our part, so it's your turn to share the links. Thank you so much for watching. If you missed our quote for today, it says, somewhere inside all of us is the power to change the world. Very simple and short quote, but it is so powerful. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, lives a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.